Okay, it's 11. We are going to start. Good morning, grade 5s. I hope you guys are well rested. I'm Maluleke and I'm going to be taking you for maths. Yesterday we abruptly cut, so I want us to start from where we left off yesterday, and then we're going to move on to today. So the first few minutes, we're just going to do a little recap of what we did yesterday, and then we're going to move on to today's lesson. And then let's not forget on the chat, let's chat about things that are relevant to maths or relevant to what I'm teaching now. If you have a question, can you please raise your hand, and then I'm going to give you time to ask a question. So those of you that have been here since we started, they know how it works. So as I said, we're going to go back to what we did yesterday. Yesterday, we're busy doing subtraction, and then we used the breaking down method. I remember it was Neo, if I'm not mistaken, and Neo was explaining that breaking down thing. So I'm just going to take you through it before we can go to problem solving. So looking at subtraction and using the breaking down method, I gave you a number there. So we have 46,000. Remember, now we do 5-digit numbers. 46,286 minus 27,897. So the same thing that we did when we did addition using the breaking down method, we have to start by breaking down the number. So we start by breaking down the first number. So the number broken down there. Zamambo, you have a question? Yes, Zamambo?
There was this other method in my school where we had to like put the numbers. So right, it's 46,298. Wait, 286. Minus 27,000 minus 27,897. So what we did was put the numbers on top of each other, like the bigger numbers on top of the smaller number, and then we minus the thing.
Okay, okay, thank you. Yesterday we looked at the column method. Okay, thank you, Zamambo, for raising that. Let me just say there are many ways of subtracting. And here we looked at the breaking down. Yesterday, if Zamambo is here, we looked at the column method. That's the method that he's talking about. So there are many methods. There is no right or wrong method in maths. There is many strategies that you can use. So I'm exposing you to as many methods so that you can be able to choose the one that works the best. I'm not saying that you should abandon the method that your teacher taught you. If they taught you a method and you understand it, by all means use it. So I'm exposing, so someone can know the method or they cannot. You just have to be receptive enough to look at a different method if you didn't know it and check if you are able to use it or not. So me exposing you to the breaking down, I'm not saying you should use it or not use it. So as we go through, just take what you can and take what can work for you, and what doesn't work for you, you can use what works for you. So as I was saying, thank you, Zamambo, for that input. So we break down 46,286 minus 27,897. So when we break down the number, so we use the expanded notation. So the first number, it becomes 40,000 plus 6,000 plus 200 plus 80 plus 6. And then check, because we're subtracting, remember yesterday I mentioned if we subtract, then we put a subtraction sign there, and then we're going to put the second number in brackets. So we close it in brackets. So it's 20,000 plus 7,000 plus 800 plus 90 plus 7. So after breaking down the number, the second step that you have to do, you now have to subtract them according to the place values. So the first one is 40,000 minus 20,000. It gives us 20,000. And then the second one is 6,000 minus 7,000. Remember yesterday I explained about borrowing. So you cannot subtract a bigger number from a smaller number. So we have to borrow. So here, where do we borrow? We have to borrow here. So we're 10,000, we're 20,000, and then if we borrow 10,000, we're going to be left with 10,000. And then the 10,000 that we borrowed, we add it to this 6,000. So if you check there at the bottom, 10,000 that we borrowed plus 6,000, these 6,000 that you're supposed to subtract from 7,000, if we add them together, we have 16,000. And then we can now subtract 16,000 minus 7,000 equals to 9,000. And then we move on to the hundreds. On the hundreds, 200 minus 800. It also cannot happen. So what we have to do, we have to borrow from the 1,000 or from the previous value, which is 1,000. So remember, on thousands, the answer was 9,000. So we borrow 1,000. If we borrow 1,000, we're going to be left with 8,000. Check the things that the numbers that you left with. I just highlighted them in yellow so that you can see what was left after borrowing. So we borrow that 1,000 and we add it. Be careful, we have to add it on the first number, which is 200. So 1,000 plus 200 equals to 1,200. My mistake, they're supposed to be 1,200, not 12,000. And then 1,200 minus 800 equals to 400. And then we're done with the hundreds, we come to the tens. 80 minus 90, it cannot happen also because we cannot remove 90 from 80. So what we have to do, remember we have 400s there, so we have to borrow 100. We borrow 100 from 400, then we are left with 300. The 100 that we borrowed, we have to put it on the 80. So 80, 100 plus 80 gives us 180, and then minus 90. Now we can subtract because it's possible. We're now subtracting a smaller number from a bigger number. So 190 minus 90 equals to 90. So we now move on to the units. The units is 6 minus 7. 6 minus 7, it cannot happen because you cannot remove 7 from 6. So what do we have to do? We had 90 tens, so we borrowed 10, a 10 from the 90, and we are left with 80. So if we take that 10 that we borrowed and then we put it on the 6, the first number, you see what we borrow, we always put it on the first number. So we put the 10 on the 6 and we have a 16. Then we can subtract 16 minus 7 equals to 9. Then we take everything that we highlighted in yellow. We have 10,000 plus 8,000 plus 300 plus 80 plus 9. And then if we plus that, our answer is going to be 18,389. Now, let's prove if the answer was correct. I think if this answer is correct, that's what Zama's method, that's where it comes in. So still, we have the column method. Remember I said for maths, you have to prove if your answer is correct. So the same number, 46,286 minus 27,897. If you still remember yesterday, we said we work from the units. So we'll say 6 minus 7. Now it's the column method. So the breaking down method will work from left to right, and then the column method will work from right to left. So the column method, we start from the units. 6 minus 7, it cannot be. So what do? We have to go to the next door, and the next doors are tens, and we have to borrow 1 from the tens. We're actually borrowing a 10 from the tens. And then 8 becomes 7. That 10 that we borrowed, we put it on the units. And then 10 plus 6 equals to 16. 16 minus 7 gives us 9. We are done with the units. And then we move on to the tens. Remember, we're now left with the 7. That's why I put it in brackets. It means that's what we're left with. So 7 minus 9, it cannot happen because you cannot take away 9 from 7. So what do? We have to go to the hundreds. The hundreds, we had 200, and then we have to borrow. Sorry, I was just checking your chest there, and I thought maybe something related to maths, but people are greeting each other. Okay. So And then we borrow here, we had 200, we borrow 1, and we left with 1. Okay, if it's the charts, maybe we can stop with the charts and then only use the charts when I ask a question, because if I see more charts, I'm thinking maybe you guys are asking something related to maths. And then now I can see your hand, but let me be done explaining, then I will come to you. So we have 200 here, and then we borrow 1, we put it here on the 10th. Now you see on the 10th, remember we had a 7. So on the 10th, we that one that we borrowed, we put it here. Now we have a 17, it's a 1 and a 7. And then 17 minus 9 gives us 8. Then we move on to the hundreds. How many hundreds were we left with? We left with 1 because we borrowed. Now then we say 1 minus 8. 1 minus 8, it cannot happen. So what do? We have to borrow on the thousands. On the thousands, we have 6,000. We borrow. Now we are left with 5. And then the one that we borrowed, we put it here. And now we have an 11. 11 minus 8 gives us 3. And then we come to the thousands. We were left with 5 because we borrowed, remember? 5 minus 7, it cannot happen again. What do? We borrow from the 10,000s. We had how many 10,000s? We had 4 10,000s. If we borrow 1, we're going to be left with 3 10,000s. So then what we borrowed, we put it here. Now we have, remember when we borrow on column method is 10, we borrowed by 10. So we don't borrow 1 like in addition where we carry 1. We borrow 10, and then so 10 plus 5 gives us 15. You can see it's 1 5 there. 15 minus 7 gives us 8. And then 3 minus 2 now, it gives us 1. So this was the answer that we had. Now, before I move on to what I want us to do together, Neo had a question. If maybe admin can unmute Neo for me.
Ma'am?
Yes,
Ma'am,
Neo.
can you please slow down?
Or am I moving too fast?
Yeah.
Okay, Neo. All right, another question. I saw there were 3 hands. Okay, Neo, you just spoke.
Ma'am, I also raised my hand, and then you see, I just
also
came
raised?
now.
Who are you?
I'm Pal.
Oh, hi, Pal. I don't see you today. Yes, Pal. You were late.
So, yes, ma'am, and I don't understand by the part where, isn't it why you yesterday we used to the way we did it on the units. So now here we work
which
on
method,
the
Pal?
10th. It's like
with
1 and a 7. It's somehow confusing.
Oh, here. You mean here? Are you looking?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that 1 in the 7,
Yes,
it's a
ma'am.
17. It's a 17.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Okay, we can continue now. Okay, so now this is your turn. That is where your charts have to work. So let us separate together using the breaking down method. So you have to say the missing numbers from the method. The numbers that I gave you is 49,034 minus 29,556. Okay, it's either we can do the charts or with people that raise their hands. Riahile, okay. You can unmute Riahile for me, and then Riahile will take us through. Riahile? Okay, on anyone whose hand is raised, they can be unmuted, and then they take us through this example.
Ma'am?
Yes, where am I talking to?
Praise.
Who?
Praise.
Praise. Okay, hi, Praise. Okay, Praise, you can see the sum that I projected there for you, ne?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you want to take us through?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Praise. You can take us through.
Here it's 99,900.
Okay, we are here on the yellow one. So it's 40,000 plus what? Which one is missing here, Praise? Which number is missing here?
900.
Mm-mm.
9.
Remember, 4 is units, 3 is tens, 0 is hundreds, and 9 is what? Let's give someone a chance, and then
1,000.
it's what? It's 9 what?
9,000.
Yes, 9,000. So 9,000 is missing here. And then which number is missing here?
It's
Okay, maybe we can unmute someone else just so we can save time. Thank you, Praise, for that answer. Let's hear someone else. Which number is missing here? Check if your mic is unmuted and then you talk. Who is talking?
Thinking.
Okay, Quentin.
Thinking.
Or thinking, yes. Which number is missing here?
It's 20,000.
Well done. Now take us through. And then here, 40,000 minus what? Which number is missing here?
20,000.
It's 20,000. Okay, so then tell us 40,000 minus 20,000 gives us, I already gave you 20,000 here, right?
Yeah.
And how did we get this 10,000?
It's
How did-
because we borrowed from the 1,000 because there wasn't enough at the 1,000, so we had to borrow.
Well done, all right. I jumped a step for you, all right. So now here, which number is missing on the thousands? If minus 9,000, what is
9,000.
9,000 minus 9,000? Well done. And it gives us what?
0.
0. And then we come to the hundreds, right?
Yes.
I wrote there for you. 0 minus 500 equals to, what do we do here? Is it
We
possible
have
to say 0 minus 500?
No, so we have to borrow from the thousands.
But the thousands were 0. So what do we do then?
Oh.
So where do we borrow?
Well, I think we're gonna borrow from the 10,000s.
Yes, well done. So we borrowed from the 10,000s. Remember, 40,000 minus 20,000 was 20,000. So then if we
Yes.
borrow, yes, then we borrowed. When we borrow, we were borrowing for the hundreds. Why did
Yes.
we come here to give the thousands?
It's because they had nothing. So when you're
Well
going
done.
to the hundreds, you have to also give them.
Well done. I'm so proud of you because they had nothing. So we have to give them something, right? So we gave them the
Yes.
10,000. Now we can borrow the 1,000, right? We can now borrow
Yes.
the 1,000. And yes, well done. And then when we borrow the 1,000, how many thousands are left by the thousands?
9,000.
9,000, well done. And then the 1,000 that we borrowed from the thousands, where did we put it? By the?
It's going to be in front of 500.
Yes, by the hundreds. And then 1,000 minus 500 gives us?
500.
Well done. Now we come to the tens, right?
Tens.
Yes, and then 30 minus 50 gives us what?
20.
Serious?
Oh, no.
Yes.
We have to borrow from the
Well
hundreds.
done. Yes, we have to borrow from the hundreds. And how many hundreds did we have?
We had
Originally?
500.
And then if we borrow, how many hundreds are we going to be left with?
400.
400. And the 100 that we borrowed, where do we put them?
We're gonna put it in front of 30.
And what number should be here?
130.
Well done. 130 minus 50 gives us?
80.
Well done. Now we come to the units. What is 4 minus 6?
You can't do that
Well done. Why can't we do that?
because you can't minus 6 from 4.
Well done. So what do we have to do then?
We have to borrow from the tens.
How many tens did we have originally?
80.
So if we borrow, how many tens are going to be left with?
70.
70. And then where do you put the 10 that we borrowed?
In front of the 4.
So that we say 10 plus 4 to get how much?
14.
Well done. And then 14 minus 6 gives us?
13.
14 minus 6?
Oh, it gives us 8.
It gives us 8. Well done. And then when we are done, we then take all the answers that were left here. So 10,000 plus 9,000 plus 400 plus 70 plus 8. You see that it gives us 19,478.
Yes.
Well done. I'm so proud of you for paying attention. Okay, so we move on. Now we're done with explaining the breaking down method and the column method. So this was yesterday's lesson, us recapping it. So let's see how far we can go with problem solving, because most of the learners have a problem with problem solving. And then they don't get the answers right, because when they see that it's worth 3 marks, then they panic. So by the end of this lesson, I want you to be able to read and understand the problem when you see problem solving. I also want you to be able to identify the important information, to choose the appropriate strategy. By strategy, we mean addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. I want you to also be able to write a number sentence, and you should be able to solve the problem and to also check your solution. So this is what I hope you guys will achieve at the end of the lesson. And then, so the steps, what is problem solving in math? So problem solving is not always in word sums, but mostly you're going to get it in word sums. Problem solving requires more than one way of arriving to the answer. So it's not straight like 2 minus 1 equals to 1. So you'll be given a problem. John went to buy 2 sweets, and then you'll be given a story, and then you have to take out the important information from there. So mostly in grade 5, you are given word problems so that you have to follow certain steps in order to reach the final answer. Most word problems are expressed in a story form. So if you told the story, you have to understand what they're talking about. And then there are different words that are used when we are plussing. So it's not always that they'll say that, and John plussed 5 sweets that he had with Peter. No. So it will be words like together, total, greater than, increase, altogether, more, some. So these are the words these words, they mean that you have to add. It might not be the first time you're hearing the words. And then when you hear or see words like what the difference, take away, reduce, decrease, and less than, you know that the strategy that you have to use is subtract. And then when you see or hear words like times or product in a word problem, it means that you must multiply. When you hear or see words like each, share equally, per group, per packet, per class, this means that you have to divide. So let's get down to some sums and apply all this information. Remember the words. Okay, you're not going to know them now, but you have to learn them. I said you can go to YouTube and rewatch this the slides, because they'll be explaining it's exactly the same thing that you're doing. So for you to know these words, you have to go back and revise so that you know more sum means plus. And then so we have a problem that I gave you here. It says, after reading 3 books during a holiday, okay, after reading books, okay, these are on my way. Okay, all right. After reading 3 books during the holidays, I had read a total of 1,697 pages. After reading 3 books during the holiday, I had read a total of 1,697 pages. And then the sum continues. If the first 2 books add up to a total of 948 pages, how many pages does the third book have? So I said step number 1, you have to read and understand the word problem. So the story is about 3 books that were read or that you read. You have to also personalize. I always tell my learners, you have to personalize the stories. If it says John, say if you're Paul, say Paul did this. So after reading where I said I had read, then you can say Neo had read. So now let's personalize it so that you understand. I use the names that I see here. So after reading 3 books during the holidays, so we can say after me, Neo, or after me, Praise, read 3 books during the holiday, I had read 1,697 pages. So the first 2 books, they add up to a total of 948. How many pages does the 3rd book have? So step number 1, you have to read and understand the word problem. So the story is about 3 books that were read and the number of pages that were read. Number 2, you have to underline the important information. So important information here is 3 books, and then we're given a total. So this is very important because it's the total. So the total of the 3 books is 1,697. Another important information, it says the first 2 books, and we're given a total of those first 2 books is 948. And then the question, very important for you, grade 5, to understand the question. The question says, how many pages does the 3rd book have? So this is the important information. Number 3, step number 3, you have to write a number sentence using the given information. So number sentence here, 1,697, which is the total. I don't know whether it's supposed to be plus or minus or times or divide. I do not know. 948 equals to, so I don't know the strategy. I know that I've been given 1,697. I don't know whether I should times or minus or divide, or I don't know yet. And then that is the number sentence, right? And then we come to step 4. You decide which strategy. So strategy, I say grade 5 strategy is either you minus or you times or you divide or you subtract. So you decide which strategy is appropriate to answer the question. Are you going to say divide? Is your answer going to make sense? Are you going to say multiply? Is your answer going to make sense? Are you going to say plus? Is your answer going to make sense? Or are you going to subtract? And then is your answer going to make sense after you have chosen the answer? Okay, I see, yes, I see Kundai, Kabelo, Tafika, yes, Jerome, Joy, yes. You are saying we have to subtract. You are right. So the strategy, that's step number 4. You decide on the strategy. The strategy is minus. Okay, you can stop with the chart now. Let's listen, otherwise you're going to miss the important information. So we minus. So if you minus, remember we just did the strategy. So now when you minus on problem solving, you choose which strategy do you want to use. Do you want to use column method, breaking down method? Do you want to use compensation method? It's up to you. You choose the one that you understand the most. So you subtract using any method, but not a calculator. Please, not a calculator. So 1,697 minus 948 equals to 749. And then the last one, okay, that's step 5. So you solve the problem. So how do you solve the problem? You use the strategies that your teacher taught you. And then step number 6, you check your solution by using inverse operation. So inverse operation, it means you use, if we are subtracting, you have to use plus. So how do you use the inverse operation? You take the 2 numbers, the 2 smaller numbers, you add them together, they must give you the total. Then you go back. It said that the total is 1,697. So yes, here we have the answer is 1,697 after we have checked. So this means that the book had 749 pages. So you see, it has to make sense. So those are the 6 steps of problem solving. And then let's move on to the second example. Second example, okay, so now this is me explaining. I'll come to ask, some post father is saving up for a holiday overseas. Remember, I said personalize it. Instead of saying Paul, say Nancy or Tinkin. Tinkin's father is saving, so you make it personal, you understand it better. It's not that far, it's now close to you. Tinkin's father is saving up for a holiday overseas. The total amount of money needed for the family of 4. Also, we know now Tinkin's place, there are 4. I'm just using as an example, Tinkin, no offense meant. So the total amount needed for the family of 4 is 58,950. The total amount needed. Ne? He has managed to save 31,921. So if you go to Tinkin's father now, you ask how much do you have? He will say he has 31,920. But how much do they need to go for a holiday? They need 58,950. And then the question, very important, says how much more money does he need to save? So he has saved this one. So step 1, what does the statement tell us? It's telling us about Tinkin's father who wants to go for a holiday overseas. And then we also told about how much is needed in total for him to go with his family. And then number 2, it also tells us how much he has managed to save. So if someone has to come in and say, maybe let me add more, so he has this amount, then we have to find out how much someone is supposed to add so that they can go for a holiday. And then step number 2, let's highlight the important information. I highlighted the information in yellow, the important one. So saving, total amount needed, and then we are given 58,000. So this is the total amount needed. And then saved, 31,920. And then always the question is very important. How much more money does he need to save? So we have highlighted the important information. And then step number 3 is a number sentence. Always number sentence. You have to represent your information in a number sentence. So we don't know how much he needs to save, but what we know is how much he has saved. And what we know is how much he needs. So we don't know how much he needs to save. We know how much he has now, which is 31,920. And we also know the total. He needs 58,950. So I think I see the charts are exploding. Oh, people are already calculating. Okay. All right, so I will go back again, Pearl. What does the statement tell us? It tells us how much is needed for host father for them to have a holiday. And then it also tells us how much he has already. And then what we do not know and what we have to find out is how much he still needs to save. So in a number sentence, we're going to represent it like this, plus the money that he has, 31,920, equals to the total that we are given. These are the numbers that I did not make up, but they are the numbers that are in the word story. So we do not know. How much he saved, we know. How much is needed, we know. So we do not know how much he still needs to save. And then step number 4, operation is subtract because we are given the total. So we need an amount to add to 31,920. I'm sure you have seen these sums. When we say plus 3 equals to 10. If I say plus 3 equals to 10, so what will be How do we get the if I say plus 3 equals to 10? Because it's a smaller number, you say, ma'am, obvious. It's 7 plus 3 equals to 10. But that's the same strategy that how did you get 7? You say 10 minus 3 to get 7, isn't it? So that's the same strategy that you use. So you go back to what you know, you refer to what you know. This is the same as saying plus 3 equals to 5. And then how are you going to get You say 5 minus 3 to get 2, right? You say, ma'am, this is easy. Plus 3 equals to 5. The missing number is 2. Yes, it's the same thing that you have to apply here. So how do we solve the problem? We have to use the inverse operation to get the missing number. So we wrote our number sentence here. We said plus 31,920 equals to 58,950. So inverse operation means that instead of a plus now, we have to use a minus. But when we do inverse operation, we have to say 58,950 minus 31,920. So whatever strategy that you use now, Zama, is up to you. Breaking down method, column method, whatever method you use, any strategy that you understand, and then you subtract. So when we subtract 58,950, we remove 31,920. The answer that we have is 27,030. I saw most of you on the charts, you were writing that answer. Yes. All right. And then let's move on. Okay, we are left to 10 minutes. Okay, same example here. Okay, I'll skip this one. Okay, so now this is the time that people get to call in and tell us the answers. So if you had a chance to talk, let's give the others a chance to talk. I saw there were hands raised, but before you can raise your hand, understand the problem, then you can call in and answer. So we're going to use this 10 minutes to answer this. So this year, 85,604 people visited the Cape Point. This year, 2020, I said make it relevant. This year, 2020, 85,604 people visited the Cape Point. This is 17,342 more than last year. How many people visited the Cape Point last year? I'll reread. This year, 85,604 people visited Cape Point. This is 17,342 more than last year. Then the question is, how many people visited Cape Point last year? Who is unmuted? Who is unmuted? Anyone? Yes, Melody. Hi, Melody.
Ma'am, that's not my real name. That's my mom's name.
Oh, okay. I see Melody here. What's your name?
Takutwa.
Okay, yes. Who?
Takutwa.
Oh, Takut, yes. Okay, so what does step 1 of problem solving entail? That is the first question. What does step 1 of problem solving entail, or what does it say we must do? Step 1?
Ma'am, you have to work it out. You have to work out the number and you have to work up each and everything, ma'am. And
is that step 1, Takuza? Step one of problem solving. Okay, can we have someone else? I see there is 9 people. Thank you, Takuza, for trying. At the end, yes, we're going to work out everything. Okay, who is unmuted? Okay, anyone unmuted? You can talk. Yes, Lutando.
The
Step 1.
What does the statement tell us? The statement tells us that how many people this year visited the Cape Point and how many more people visited. So like,
well done.
So like how many more? So how many more?
Yes, well done. And that is what the statement tells us. Step number 2, what does step number 2 tell us?
It tells
what do we do in step number 2?
It highlights the important information.
Well done. We have to highlight. So which one is important here?
85,604 and 17,342. And the question, how many people visited Cape Point last year?
Well done. Okay. And then the more and the more than also it's important. And then what happens in step 3? So what do we do in step 3?
The number sentence, like 85,604 minus 17,342.
Equals to ne?
Yes.
Okay. And then what then do we do in step 5? After writing the number sentence, you have already told us the strategy. So the strategy is saying we have to subtract.
Yes, you do the inverse operation to get the answer.
You missed it a little there. You said we say 85,604 minus 17,342. So what do we do then? After we've written a number sentence, what must we do? We solve it. Ne, Lutando?
Yes.
We solve it, and then step number 6, that is where inverse operation comes in. Ne?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Lutando, for contributing. So please go over this on YouTube. You have to go over this. Okay, before I conclude, I see there are hand raised. If we can unmute one of them. Okay, who is unmuted?
Miss,
Zama.
ma'am, my name's Khadna. That's my mom's name.
Okay, I only see the one that was registered with Ne.
Yes, ma'am. So
Yes.
the last thingy, I think it was 8,000 some. Ma'am, can you go back to the last page? Example 4.
Example
So
4.
I think you should
Which one?
minus the 2 numbers and then 4.
Which one,
ma'am,
Zama?
example 4.
Is it this one?
Example 4. Example 4, ma'am.
Here. Here?
No. Yes, miss. So I think you take the first number and minus it by the second number. When you get that answer, you take that answer and plus it by 17,342.
That is step number 6, ne? So step number 5, you
Yes,
are right,
miss.
Zama. You are right. Step number 5, you take 85,000, you subtract 17,000, and you get the answer. And then step number 6 on inverse, that's what you do. You are right. Thank you for paying attention, Zama. You are right,
Yes,
ne?
miss.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Okay, so now remember all the steps of problem solving, and you always get your answers right. And then problem solving constitutes 10% of your assessment. So please do not lose those marks. Remember, practice makes perfect. So you need to practice problem solving. If you go through those 6 steps, you're not going to get things wrong. And then tomorrow we are starting on common fractions. And please, I know, was it Paul or Praise? I confused them, was late today. Log in 5 minutes to 11 so that you are not late. Tomorrow we're starting with common fractions. I hope you guys will be on time so that we can get to go through the work. Last hand, we have 1 minute before the time is up. Last hand. So there was a hand raised. Yes, who is talking? Okay. Okay, I see they are hand raised. Just check if your mic is unmuted and then you can talk.
Ma'am, my mic is unmuted.
Yes, who am I talking to?
Pal.
Yes, Paul.
Ma'am, can you please go to the question about the one where we had to minus 85,604. So ma'am, on step 1, as the Lutando said, on step 1 we have to this scenario tells us about the people who have visited the Cape Point in 2020, and it also tells us about how many people it also tells us how many people have also attended last year, which was technically 2019. So the thing that we have to do.
Okay, so it tells us, okay, it says in 2020, the 17,342 is actually more. So this is 72,342 more than last year.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, the rule we're supposed to use here is our minus rule, so that we are able to find the people who were here last year.
Yes. You are right.
And as you can see, some digits may be smaller than the ones that are at the bottom. So we also have to borrow from them.
Especially on the tens, yes, because it would be
Yes,
0,
ma'am.
0 minus 4. So you have to borrow from the hundreds, yes.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
love
Ma'am,
that
are
you're
we allowed
applying
to?
that.
Ma'am, are we allowed to say the answer?
Yes, you can say the answer.
So, ma'am, it will be 85,604 minus 17,342, which we're gonna say 4 minus 2 is 2. 0 minus 4, it can't, so we have to borrow from the next digit. So it will normally be 6, but it will be 5, and then this side will be 10. So we will say 10 minus 4, which is 6. Then we'll say 5 minus 3, which is 2. And then we'll come here, then we'll say we cannot minus 5 by 7. So we're gonna go to the next digit. That means it will normally be 8, it will be 7. And then here it will be 15. Then we'll say 15 minus 7 is 8. And then we say the next one, we'll say 7 minus 1 is 6, which equals to 68,262.
Yes, well done, Pearl. Yeah, okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. See you tomorrow, Pearl. This brings us to the end of the lesson. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. And thank you so much for your participation. And you guys have been good. Continue being good. Tomorrow we are starting with common fractions. Bye.